It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, and as you can tell by the sound, it's time for another installment of, just wait.
What?
The Culinary Hotline bling! Ting, ting, ting! My new mission is to find the most annoying way to make the ting, ting, ting sound. This is this week.
Oh.
Are you looking around?
Oh,
Are you looking
I
around?
am.
Tell you what, you can look around for the second part.
Okay, cool.
You can set it off. Okay. Putting everything back down. So, it's the festive season. We know that you're going to be at home. You're probably going to want to be experimenting in the kitchen, maybe spending some time working on recipes that you wouldn't normally spend on the rest of the year because it takes a lot of time.
Fruitcake.
And fruitcake. And one of those things is baking and breads. So I've called my friend Michaela into the studio today because expert baker. I can bake, but I want to leave it up to the professionals, and that's you, Michaela. You're gonna make a delicious rooster cook for us today, but that's not all. Tell me what goes with this rooster cook.
It's got a Mexican corn cheese filling.
I'm all about fusion cuisine.
I know, me too.
I love it.
And also when these are warm and you like break them open, that filling is oozy and delicious.
So you actually kind of rooster cook the vibe together with the filling.
You do!
Start.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Oil. Onion. Oh.
That's hot.
Nice.
So you're working on the filling right now.
Yes.
While you're doing that...
And you get to do the dough. But we can switch over at some point if you want me to do that.
So, I've got, is this regular flour?
Yes.
Regular flour.
All purpose.
All purpose. And then what have I got happening here? It's amazing.
We had some lukewarm water, some sugar, which fed our yeast. And
that's the bloom. Ah, and it smells.
I love the smell of blooming yeast.
Yeah.
It like resonates throughout your whole house.
It smells like bread, like right there.
Yeah.
It's the smell of bread. So.
And if you want to know if your yeast is working or not, if it doesn't bloom and you don't get the smell, then chuck it. Please don't even try and make bread with it. I've used expired yeast before because you actually can, but sometimes it's too far.
Just don't. Okay, so I'm gonna go.
Gooi it on in there. We also have 2 little blockies of butter over there that we're just going to use to enrich the dough a little.
What does enriching mean?
It just means you are adding oils and like dairy into it to create like a softer, more delicious dough, basically.
I get you.
But you could actually do this excluding the butter. Rooster cook is one of the most like chilled, versatile breads ever. You could even use self-raising flour. I've seen that, self-raising flour, and yogurt is another option.
Right, the 2 ingredients.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So we're gonna bring this to a nice ball.
Shaggy dough.
Some serious kneading, right?
Yes.
Okay, some serious kneading gonna happen.
And if you need more flour at any point, there's some over there.
Thank you. Okay, so a little bit of flour goes into the surface.
Yes. Oh my, look at that. It's just professional.
There's a reason for it. It's not just being fancy. When you're flouring a surface, if you end up flouring it down here, you're gonna get like a clump over there. So I like doing, can I actually do it how I do it?
I actually do it like that too. Do you gooi it? I throw.
I do the over the shoulder, I do like the almost like the Salt Bay vibe.
Do you?
But with the flour. Yes, it makes a mess, because I probably will get flour on my shoulder. But literally at home, it's like this. It's like...
No, I do this. Oh yeah, I do this one.
And then I've also seen chefs do the this.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
I feel like that
we need slow motion shots, just like someone watching you do that.
But then this does happen. You do get flour everywhere.
Yeah.
But also as a baker, I feel like that's
I don't mind.
Like you want to have...
You have to.
It shows that you've been working.
100%.
I love it. Okay.
Are you even in the kitchen if you don't get messy?
Right?
Yeah.
No. Okay, so I'm going to start kneading.
Perfect.
Such a soft dough. I love it.
Are you enriching it with that butter, or you chosen not
I was going to ask, I normally add the butter at the stage when I knead it in, or was I wrong?
I start doing it in the kneading stage already. Because you want it to go throughout the dough.
So I did the right thing?
Yes,
okay,
100%.
Cool. Talk to me about your filling.
So, onions, you want them to brown a bit more, but we don't have TV time for that. So we added in some grilled / charred corn, because you just need that extra bit of burnt flavor, because burnt adds a lot of flavor.
That's what we used to say as chefs, like if we burn something, we just say it's either smoked,
yes,
or it's just like, it's intentionally burnt, caramelized. chefs are sneaky, eh?
Yeah, but the additional flavor of just that little bit of char, it adds so much texture in the whole world of flavor. You just need that.
I agree. Okay, so fast forward. This is
Did
the
you get
dough
it?
that we've rested, kneaded and rested.
100%. If you could divide that into like balls for me, because we want to roll them out into balls and then flatten them out so we can fill it with our pre-made filling, which lives over there. Clem's doing the mostest today and I'm just existing.
No, I love this. I love this. Also, it's not me behind the stove. I'm just over here. I'm taking instruction.
Nice.
So, how many
Thank you.
balls did you say?
Even that dough out, so probably 4.
Okay, so this is a pilot knife, user knife at home, or
Yes. Or your hands.
Oh, you do?
I
can
do.
use that?
I just break them apart.
Okay, nice. Okay, so,
Are you doing double handing?
yes, okay. The one
Okay.
thing is you can't have too much flour on your surface.
No.
So, let's go, yeah.
And in my pot, I've added some smoked paprika, chilies. We're gonna add some salt.
Okay, while you're busy with that,
Yes.
got a voice note already.
Nice.
And it's Michelle on the line. Michelle, okay, on the line, you got a voice note. Okay, let's hear Michelle's voice note.
Good morning, my Expresso family. This is Michelle here from Eden Park. I'd like to know if you use beer in the bread dough, does the bread actually taste like beer afterwards?
I like this question.
I don't think it always does.
No.
Because it's you basically just getting the same reaction as you would with yeast.
Exactly.
Yeast has the almost exact same smell as like fermented beer. So you actually don't get that flavor too much.
You can play around if you do want some extra beery
Yeah.
flavor. Use ingredients like a milk stout in your bread.
100%.
That'll give it some nice color as well.
Will be very deep in color.
Deep in color, but again, if you're using regular beer, you're not gonna get that intense beer flavor. It's just gonna actually taste more bread-like.
Yeah.
Which I love. Thank you so much, Michelle. I hope we answered your question. Okay, we've got 1 minute left, chef.
Okay, so I've added different kinds of cheeses in here. We have some sour cream, some cream cheese, some strong cheddar, and some Parmigiano. Okay, so you just want to flatten it on out. Whoop, whoop. And I'm using my hand.
I'm gonna use,
You had all the spoons!
I'm gonna use a spoon.
Okay,
I was hogging all the spoons.
you were. Okay, and just pinch the dough together. There we go. Make sure all your ends are closed. Sorry, mine's a little bit dirty looking now because I touched my hand in there.
Is there a technique,
Okay.
or can I just fold
No,
and
just
fold
fold.
and fold?
And then you want to put it on a griddle pan. Boop.
I like it. I like it. I like
And just
it.
cook it until both sides are beautiful and charred and it's risen. Nice.
There we go.
Look at that. Look
And
at
if
that.
you want to make this recipe at home, get the recipe on expressoshow.com. Michaela spent a lot of time perfecting this recipe, and you're going to want to make it. We're using griddle pan, but you're going to want to make it on the braai at home. Michaela,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank
We're
you.
not done. We're not done. We're back with the second part coming up soon.
Woo!
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It's time for the second part of the Culinary Hotline. Bling! Ding, ding, ding! Did you find your thing?
No.
Okay, so the next one you're going to have to find your thing to make a lot of noise. Too late. Should we do it one more time just for Michaela to make a noise?
No.
It's the Culinary Hotline. Bling! Ding, ding, ding! People at home are saying try harder, but you got one more chance. Okay, so we're back with the second part of the hotline.
Okay.
Your rosaka, by the way, crowd favorite.
Nice.
We've had to stop people from taking them off the table, but they'll get some at the end.
I didn't realize those had to be there the entire time.
Yes, they
So,
do
yeah.
have to, just to make
Yeah.
sure that no one actually gets them. But what are we making now?
Portuguese rolls.
Okay, yes.
A good old Portuguese roll with, I don't know if this is something that other people do, but our family, we always do either apricot or strawberry
Your
strawberry
Portuguese
jam?
family, tell me
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
guys do?
and cheese.
Describe
On a Sunday after church.
Yes.
Yes! Okay.
Are you colored?
Basically.
Wow, that sounds like a... Okay, describe the perfect Portuguese roll. What makes a Portuguese roll a Portuguese roll?
Crispy outside,
Yes.
fluffy inside. Oh, and that dusting of flour on the top.
Dusting of flour. I wanna know that I ate a Portuguese roll. I wanna wear the
Your
flour
face.
at the end. Okay, so let's start. Where do we go?
So we make the dough. Make of the dough, we have some flour, make a little well. Okay, we have some bloomed yeast and some water. Nice. Was fed with some sugar.
Is there something like your do's and don'ts? But give me more the don'ts. What should you not do when you're mixing a dough?
Never, ever, ever add the salt to your yeast while it's blooming because it will kill it.
Okay.
It does not feed the dough. Sugar feeds the yeast.
Okay, cool. So the sugar, when do we add the salt then?
Afterwards. So at this point, I gooi it on in there.
Perfect timing. All right.
Okay. And then we also have some butter, once again, because we're making a bit of an enriched dough.
I like this enriched dough that we're teaching everyone about.
I know, I love it.
So
Enriched
tell
dough.
me, we're going to pop this aside to proof, and that's when the dough rises,
Yes.
gets its volume. Is there such a thing as over-proving?
Yes. And unfortunately, with our pre-made roaster cooked dough this morning, it was sitting for a little bit long. So what happens is the air pockets become very large, and it becomes very, very sticky. And then you kind of have to realize, no, I can't use that anymore. And then it just doesn't cook right, it doesn't rise right. The texture goes off. It's more like a weird, chewy, gummy kind of texture in the end.
And we're not making pasta?
No, we're not.
I got you. I got you.
100%.
Thank you for that. So this
Yeah.
dough, how long would you say we would prove it for?
About an hour or until doubled in size. Sometimes yeast acts a little bit quicker than other times. And with some doughs, you kind of let it rise, and then you want to beat it down again, and then let it do a double proof. And then with doughs like brioche, you want the gluten to be good, but also you want the texture to be soft. So you'd actually want to do an overnight proof, and to slow down the proof, you do it in the fridge. You can proof in the fridge.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so you're now...
Of course you knew that, Clem. You didn't have to play dumb.
This is TV, okay?
You know everything.
No, but I do like the idea of also proving dough in the fridge because you develop
Yes.
more flavor.
It's so good.
Okay, so maybe we should chat more about proving in the fridge in another episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're kneading your dough.
Yes.
When do we know that we're done kneading?
So the texture will become smooth. So if you look at it right now, you can see there's still like a bit of flour particles in there, and the texture's just not right. You can see the glutens haven't developed at all, so it doesn't become stringy.
It just pulls apart.
If you try and pull that one apart, there should be a little more give, 100%.
Okay, that's what you
Okay.
want, just a little more give.
Yes.
Okay.
So you want the dough to become completely smooth. So that one that you have, there's no longer like bitsy texture to it.
And can you give me your kneading technique? Because you got the push and then just kind of like the swirl back.
Yes.
Okay.
What's your technique?
Mine is, no, it's kind of the same, but like, I kind of like really...
I
go
do that
with the-
too, though. I do it with
Yeah?
the palm of my hand
Stretch
and I push
then-
it out.
Then pull it back with the fingers. That's what I do. And then obviously you can do the
There's also like the,
really intense two-handed knead.
yes.
Yeah.
So we use that one for pottery. When you're kneading the actual clay, you could do that one. Or you could go all out and do the slap.
The slap.
Yeah.
And by the way, yes, Michaela does make some really beautiful ceramics and pottery. Go check out on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
K's Fierce Foliage, underscores in between.
Check it out. She bakes, she pots.
I'm currently doing a miniature series, so that's lots of fun. It has been on our show. It was featured on one of the...
Wow!
Yeah, when we did mini croissants.
Done. Okay, so dough is looking good. It's been kneaded. Can you want to step
Perfect.
over here? What's
Okay,
next?
so you'd want to get this out into a ball. Then you kind of want to bring it out and fold it over. And Portuguese rolls usually have that like little seam in it, and you just want to pinch them together. Like so, to get a bit of a seam on the top.
Is that going to make one roll?
Well, in this case, we're doing one huge ass roll because you just gave it to me that way.
Cool.
Okay, so this is going to be a big roll.
So it's going to prove again. It's going to double in size.
Sunday morning roll.
A Sunday morning roll. I do like that. It's also something quite special about making your own rolls at home. It's so easy to make.
It's all about you.
It is.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to be so thoughtful. I do believe in like the thoughts and your energy at the time like relate to the food, especially bread. No, it's the truth.
I'm judging this.
I cannot cook if I'm in a bad mood, if I'm overtired.
No, it flops every single time.
Every time. I've got to be in the best mood and then the food comes out amazing. What are you brushing on there now?
100%.
Milk.
Milk.
Why? Why milk?
You want an even color throughout, and also if you use egg yolk, you get that like sometimes a little bit of a lumpy
I get you. I
finish.
get you.
Okay,
So this still gives us that beautiful lacquered finish.
it does.
And then the flour.
Flour.
And again, I don't think there's a quantity for this part, right?
No,
You
we're
kind of
gonna
just
flour the top.
go with it.
Yes.
And again, I like my Portuguese roll to be like flour. That's good. I like that.
Should we like shift it around?
So once you've baked this,
Allow it to prove again before you bake. Like once you've handled the dough, allow it time just to rise back up, because you gave it quite a working there.
thank you.
Yeah. And then we bake it in the oven. What you want to do to get that perfect crust is, you can do this with any of your breads. You put a sheet pan at the bottom, fill it with room temperature water, because you're going to preheat the oven and the water will come back up to temperature. Put it in the oven, and the steam created from that water will allow for that crispy crust.
I love it. And if you want to get the full recipe from Michaela, check out the recipe on expressoshow.com. Michaela, are we done with you this morning?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but we're not done with the hotline. We'll be back for part 3, so stay tuned.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. We're in the kitchen, and you know exactly what time it is. It's the Culinary Hotline. Bling! Ting, ting, ting! For our last bread masterclass, we've got another baking expert in the kitchen. This time it's Lance. But it's not only you and I, Lance. We have another guest in the kitchen.
We do indeed.
And she's 103 years old.
Yeah, Alfonsina.
Alfonsina, please tell our viewers about this beautiful, beautiful dough in your hands.
So Alfonsina is a pasta madre. So pasta dough, madre mother. So mother dough. We don't get any prizes for our name, inventing our name. And she's been going since 1919. She comes from a little town in Italy called Clusone in Provincia di Bergamo.
Okay. May I please
Yeah.
hold it? So to our viewers at home, this is what we call a starter. So from this dough, Lance makes all his sourdough breads.
Everything.
All
Donuts,
of them. Everything.
fed cook, roast cook, everything.
That's why we call it a mother. That's why we refer to it as a female. Alfonsina.
Yeah.
Oh my
Gusto.
goodness.
Bravo.
Okay. So let's see. So I'm gonna put it down there. She's comfy. She's comfy.
Okay. Yeah, she's
and I'm gonna
good.
ask you to talk us through the important, those important steps about baking your own sourdough. Where do we start?
So when you bake with natural fermentation, it's a process. So sourdough is not a bread. You can just replace bought yeast with that.
So that's the thing. No yeast. We're creating that starter ourselves.
Yes, you're using a wild yeast and
Okay.
bacteria to ferment grain, and
Natural-
it renders the grain more nutritious.
I find bread so fascinating.
Yeah.
It is so beautiful because again, like Alfonsina's alive.
She is.
And the breads that we bake as well, especially with the sourdough, they're alive.
They are, and every now and then she needs a bath when she's not feeling happy.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. She needs a bath?
Yeah.
How do we bath a 103-year-old?
You chop her up and put in some sugar water, but you know, there's a whole way in which we need to keep yeast and bacteria balanced in there to be able to produce light, delicious bread and that actually functions properly as a dough. The yeast rise it, but the bacteria try to break it down. And there's a balance inside of fermenting dough to realize really good bread. Light.
I feel like I get this look on camera when I really like start focusing on the guest, where the
Yeah.
viewers can see he's just taking it all in. And I went to a special place now, just taking all that in. But let's see it in action. Where do we
Okay.
begin?
So with natural fermentation, a little bit like making wine, there are 7 basic stages. So we always start with feeding the mother. We're not feeding her today because there's no time, and she makes a mess all over her face. So when we feed, if you were to look at the culture in a fridge, for example, this little flat, sad dough is telling you that she's hungry. This has been fed recently, and it's almost ready to go into our dough, and we wait for it to rise to be able to bake with it. So that's step 1. Step 2 is then taking that, blitzing it, and mixing it with your dry ingredients, letting it sit, because dough needs itself. If you leave flour and water for a couple of hours and come back, it'll be dough. It's called ortolese, and it's very important with our great South African flour for developing gluten, structure, and strength. Then the next step, we go through a series of folding the dough for several hours while it ferments and the bacteria and the yeast sort of multiply and, you know, invite each other around. and set the scene for a good rise.
Again, South Africa, we are talking about bread. We are
and then-
talking
and
about
then-
bread.
And then after that, we shape it and we stick it into a basket and it goes in the oven.
And this is the basket?
Yeah, and there's dough in there that was made yesterday morning.
And I mean, she's got a hair bonnet. That's lovely.
Yeah, so, and she's, you know, she's not yet ready to go in the oven. You know, this could run on the beach, I suppose, and not wobble too much. But we're looking for something that's alive and really wobbly, and when you poke it, a slight indent remains where you poke, but at the moment the gluten is too strong, so she's pushing us away. In yeast baking, earlier you talked about over-kneading. It's going to make it tough.
Right.
We want to knead a lot with sourdough baking because the bacteria are going to break down the gluten. So if there's not enough gluten, your bread doesn't work.
This is so fascinating. What I'm also getting from this is you don't wake up on the morning and go, I feel like sourdough for lunch and I'm going to make it myself.
No.
It's a process.
That's when you pull your frozen one out the freezer. Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
Can I freeze sourdough?
It freezes beautifully, yes.
Love it. Okay, so when our beautiful dough goes into the oven, are there any steps that are really important to get that crust? What are you looking for?
What's important from a crust perspective is steam. So what we do at Mother Dough is we bake on big hunks of steel and we spray with the pressure sprayer, you know, the one you use for the roses, but on a jet. And we put a lot of water into the oven at the beginning of the bake, and that helps the bread rise and it helps it crust. Also in the dough, a little tip, if you want a practical dough that's easy to slice, bite, and so on, oil in the dough is going to give you a thin, crispy crust.
Okay.
No oil is going to give you the chainsaw toast. You know that toast at the restaurant with your scrambled eggs, and you just can't get through it. So that's bread with no oil in the dough.
Okay.
So oil helps. So yeah.
Nice. We actually have a voice note, and Lisa's got a voice note for us. Let's have a listen.
Yeah.
So family, it's Lisa from Pretoria. I want to know, must you add some salt to your bread?
Yeah.
What's important? How do you feel about salt in bread?
Apart from flavor, you know, if you forget to put salt in your dough, just tell everybody you made a Tuscan loaf.
Okay.
Because in Toscana, there's no salt in the bread. So flop to fancy in a second.
Fancy.
But if you do remember to put your salt in, the most important thing is you put it in after the gluten is formed. If I put salt in with water or with flour and then I mix, it inhibits a little bit of the passive reaction. Remember I said the dough kneaded itself?
Yes.
It inhibits that reaction to some extent, so you don't get maximum gluten development. So we would always add salt after the dough's been wet and the flour and everything's been mixed after a while.
Got you.
So salt strengthens the gluten once it's already there.
And adds flavor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We actually have another voice note. I think it's Kaylin.
Yeah.
Good morning, Expresso family. This is Kaylin from Eden Park. And my question is, can you make bread without yeast?
And I like that you asked this question because you've answered it for me, and I love this question.
So the interesting thing is here is we do have yeast, but it's a natural wild yeast, and this kind of culture would have started a long, long time ago from a spontaneous fermentation of fruit. That's how it's done for that style of culture in Italy. People who did all their starters during lockdown did it with rye flour or wheat flour with grain. But what you're trying to do is trap wild yeast in something that they can eat. Bacteria provide acid, which kind of gives the starter its immune system. And the whole thing lives as a balanced ecosystem. If you're a good parent, happily ever after, and you make amazing bread.
Lovely. We talk about the wild yeast. Is that the natural yeast that's just in the air right now?
No, that's a misnomer. The yeast is already on the grain or in the bag. You know, you buy a bag of whole wheat flour, the yeast is already in there. There is yeast in the air, there are yeasts on our hands, but many of those yeasts don't tolerate acid. So when people start a sourdough culture and they think it's dead after the first 2 weeks, what has happened is that at a certain acidic level, all those yeast that we don't want in there have been killed. And only acid-tolerant yeast is left behind because acidic fermentation is what makes the bread nutritious.
I am learning so much today.
Yeah.
We're about to end, but before we do, can we slice open one of your beautiful sourdoughs?
I mean, it was the easiest bake ever. I did nothing.
Yes, oh my goodness, you can slice it up.
So one of the things, can you catch?
Yes.
If it's a good bread, it should feel light like a ball.
I was about to say, normally sourdoughs are a lot heavier.
Yeah, and that's probably because they're underproofed, not enough water, underbaked.
Oh my goodness, Lance.
So there we go.
Oh,
The other thing that people are looking for often in their sourdough is big holes. And if you've got big holes, it should be a choice. It shouldn't look like your granny fell asleep in her jersey every other night and burnt a hole with a cigarette. So you always want an evenness of crumb inside. If you've got big random holes, it's not great fermentation and your mother's not happy.
My goodness, South Africa, if you want to get a recipe on how to make your own sourdough at home, Lance has provided us with a recipe. It's on expressoshow.com. Lance did say it's all about the feel. It's all about using your senses when it comes to bread.
If you bake with a recipe, you will fail. So you've got to learn to read the dough.
It's still warm. It's still warm. It's the simple things in life.
Yeah.
It is the simple things in life.
So, and there's different ones there. This is with semolina, there's one with white flour, there's one with rye, there's one with polenta.
Amazing. I'm going to talk of food in my mouth. Thank you, Lance.
Thanks so much.
South Africa, thank you so much for this morning's Hotline. It's the end of the Hotline series for...
And remember, every loaf is a lesson.
Every loaf is a lesson, and she's alive.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, South Africa, Lance.
Thank you.
Thank you so much as well.
Nice to be with you.